Hello everyone, it's the Metal Geek. How y'all doing? So, for those of you who have actually been watching my videos, I actually would like to thank you very, very much right here, right now. I appreciate it. Thank you for every single one of you who have subscribed to this channel. I know it's not many at this point. Hopefully I can grow this channel. But I also came to the realization that while I tend to like to do more edited narrative type videos and reviews, it's also what's holding me back from putting out more content. Because as much as I'd like to think I have all the time in the world to do those edits and to do all the setups, it's not as easy as it seems. And for those of you who have done it, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. So in order to get more content out, guys, and also just to be me and not just the Metal Geek, I wanted to kind of do a little bit more of a casual type of video where it's me talking to you about things that I find interesting, probably most likely in the video game format because, you know, I'm a gamer, probably before anything else other than a writer, but that's a different story, and that's for another day, perhaps. But I also want to be able to talk to you guys about things that I'm passionate about, and I also want to be able to get more content out there. So I've decided that I'm going to take on a little bit more of this podcasting type of feel. It's not going to be live podcast. Maybe down the line that could happen, but as of right now, it's not going to be live podcasting. It's going to be me just kind of sitting here talking to you with some edits in some cases. I can't guarantee it for this video. If you see it, then, well, it happened. And if you don't, well, then not. It's pretty simple. I'm going to try to keep the edits to a minimum. It's going to be a little bit more me just sitting here talking. Now, obviously, if a car roars by outside and it's very distracting, I may just decide to edit that out and kind of go back and do a retake. And yes, I am a YouTuber admitting to you that sometimes it takes more than one take to get these things right. Isn't that amazing? Okay, so in any case, this is kind of the first episode, and the format could change as I go along. I'm going to just call this, at this point, Metal Geek Talks, if that's cool. The name could change, but as of right now, this will be called the Metal Geek Talks. Or how about Talking with the Metal Geek? Or anything Metal Geek. Now, why do I call myself Metal Geek? I'm not going to go off on too much of a tangent, guys, but I like heavy metal, and I'm a geek, and that's the name I chose to go with. So, in any case, let's get down to this video. So, basically, a lot of people, or not maybe so a lot of people, but some people have asked me, you know, you're a gamer and you seem to be a collector, so, you know, you do retro, you also have a lot of modern systems, PS4, no PS5 at this point. I will get that eventually down the road, but when it's a little less stressful to grab one. And I don't mind playing older consoles either. As you can see in the background here, I have Persona 5 showing on the PlayStation 3. And before anyone asks me, why aren't you playing on the PlayStation 4? It's the definitive version. Honestly, it's the same game, guys. It's got a little bit of a frame rate issue at times. Nothing distracting, and it's pretty much the same game. So I really don't care. It's a fun game, and that's what I'm in gaming for. Before anything else is to have fun. So, to be honest with you, my gaming started with this guy. Or in this case, I should say this gal. So, when it comes to what's better, PS3, PS4, PS5, if PS4 is obsolete now, according to some people, well, I got news for you. I don't care. If I can have fun playing video games, I'm going to play the video games. I don't care what system is, you know. See, I already flubbed up, guys. But it happens. But let's just get down to it. Okay, so I don't care what system I'm playing on. If it's PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, I don't even care if it's the Atari. If it's a fun game, I'm playing it. That is the simplicity of the issue. Gaming first, collecting second. I do not collect any games that I would not play. I don't collect just for the sake of collecting. That's not how I play this game. I kind of suppose that's a little bit of a pun. Not intentional. But the reality is this. I'm not here to collect games just to say I have a gigantic collection. And if collecting was the only thing that I was in it for, then it would, to me, be kind of pointless. Now, I know there are people out there that collect for preservation, and I actually commend them, because one day these physical copies could be gone or hard to find, and at least there's someone out there doing something to protect these games. And that's something that I have with the idea of going to an all digital gaming scenario. I don't, just to be clear, kind of backpedaling a little bit, I do not believe in a digital only future when it comes to pretty much anything, movies, video games, because the reality is if something happens and those databases go away, those games are gone too. And for some people, that would be fine because it's a one and done situation. They play video games and they're done with it after they play. And if that's the case with you, that's fine. Nobody here is judging you for how or why you play video games. But for those of us who like to go back to our games in the future, and I often go back to NES and SNES games and N64 games, PlayStation 1 games, PlayStation 2. Doing a lot of PlayStation 3 gaming right now. When I'm not playing Genshin Impact, that is a different story, ladies and gentlemen. If you've seen my other videos, you'll know I'm addicted to that game. And no, I haven't spent any money on it. But again, another story for another time. But I just want to make sure that if I want to play a game in the future, that I can, that I don't have to worry about a digital online store or server shutting down and I can never play a game again. With that said, yes, I know Genshin Impact will one day go away, but I went into the game knowing that. But there are many games that I would prefer not to see go away. And if we go to a digital-only future with video games, there will come a point where you will not be able to get certain video games or play certain video games again. So if you're a one-and-done gamer, that's cool. But for the rest of us who like to go back and play those games, we don't want to see the physical format go away entirely. With that said, I have rambled on enough. So in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about my gaming collection, because some people have asked me, well, if you're a gamer and you've collected so many games, what is the size of your game collection? First and foremost, I do have what I like to consider a decent number of games. I don't have a gigantic collection of video games. I do have a pretty decent collection in my opinion, but there's a few things to take into consideration. So when I talk about having a decent number of video games, I am more in line talking about PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4 are my two largest libraries of games at this point. I have roughly around 90 PlayStation 3 games, 90, 91, 92, somewhere around there, and right around 60, 61 games for the PlayStation 4. And that's because as an adult, with a little bit of disposable income, not a lot, I am able to buy games at my leisure and also buy the games that I want and buy them at the time that I want. So I don't have to buy a game when it's brand new unless I really want it. But I also sometimes do. But oftentimes I will wait for a game to drop down to $30, $40, or in some cases even 10 or 20. In a lot of cases, I kind of have retro collected for the PlayStation 3 due to a number of circumstances that I won't get into in this video. But I picked up a lot of PlayStation 3 games for $1, $3, $5, $10. I honestly don't think there's a PlayStation 3 game in my collection that I have spent more than $20 to $25 on. And I have 90, 91, again 92 games for the PlayStation 3 because I'm retro collecting in the PlayStation 3, at least as of right now, is very, very cheap to collect for. Now, when it comes to the older consoles, it's a little bit different because those consoles were when I didn't have much of a disposable income, and I was younger and I was a kid, and it was mainly my parents buying me those games as gifts, usually Christmas or Easter, not so much for birthday because my parents never really believed in spending that much on birthday gifts. So I would receive back in the day about, for the NES or the SNES, those two consoles were my childhood consoles. Mind you, I started with the Atari 2600. And I'll get into that in a second, but my, consoles, as I was really growing up, were the NES and the SNES. And my parents would buy me gifts for Christmas, so I'd get maybe 3 or 4 games for the Nintendo Entertainment System or the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, for Christmas, and then maybe 1 game for Easter. So I'm looking at maybe 5 games a year I was getting, and that was how I got games. Now, as I got a little bit older, if I found some Nintendo or Super Nintendo games, because I never got rid of those consoles, for a decent price, I would buy those games. And I, would try to build up the collection a little bit, but I didn't go out of my way, especially considering that as the eBay market and the Amazon market started to grow, and people started to think that just because it's old and retro that it's worth a lot, that they could charge a lot, I started stepping away from buying a lot of those games. So whatever games I mainly had as a child or growing up is what I still have today, with a couple of games that I've added in since. Now, I do collect largely right now for the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation 4, but just to show you a couple things, I do have Chrono Trigger for the Super Nintendo, and I bring that up just because a lot of people are trying to find this game and buy this game, and it tends to go for an incredibly high price nowadays, especially complete in box or sealed. I just got lucky because I got this game when it came out. I asked for it for Christmas the year it came out, and I got it. So it's for me, this didn't break the bank, even though this game was $75 for people who think games are expensive now. This game was $75 when it came out. So, yeah, just remember that when you're paying $70 for a PlayStation 5 game and you're like, this is super expensive. No. Think of inflation. But, again, also my NES collection. This is, again, I kind of picked this one up random just to kind of show you, but I got this when it came out, so it was not super expensive for me to get. I'm going to show you something that will probably be a little bit amusing for you. I own a copy of E.T. Yeah, seriously, it's E.T. and it's considered the worst video game of all time. I wouldn't say that's true. I've played plenty of games that are worse than this one, but no, I didn't get mine from the landfill. This is a copy that I got from my aunt. In fact, everything when it comes to my Atari 2600 I got from my aunt. My first console was the Atari 2600, and my aunt had it, and I used to play it all the time. She bought it for her daughter, my cousin, and my cousin never played it, but I played it every single time I went over to their house. So eventually my aunt just gave it to me, because she was like, if I'm going to spend all this money on the console, I'm going to give it to somebody who's actually going to use it. So I got the Atari 2600 from my aunt with 30 games, give or take, for absolutely nothing. And the game that I would play pretty much all the time when I went to my aunt's is this one. This is where my gaming life started, although not this particular version, it was in the arcade, but Miss Pac-Man, Pac-Man were my games of choice when I was growing up. So again, super fancy graphics, guys, I don't care. They look pretty to me. I love them just as much as you guys do. But there is a point where I'm just like, so what? My gaming life started with a round circle that ate pellets that was being chased by a ghost. And I had so much fun with it. So, yeah. When it comes right down to it, if you're asking how big my collection of games are, there are people that like to go and brag that they have like 3,000 games or 10,000 games, or they have the entire PlayStation 3 collection, or they like to hug their games and show how gigantic their Switch collection is. In reality, my gaming collection is probably a little closer to around 500 games. And I don't consider that small. It's not big. It's modest. And it's not because I'm collecting games for the numbers. It's largely because I'm collecting the games because even if I can't get to them right off the bat, I do want to play those games, and I'm buying them to play them. But when you're an adult and you're busy, the backlog tends to go up. So there's only so much that you can do, and so I do have a large backlog of games to play, again, especially on the PlayStation 3. But I'm not opposed by any means to modern gaming, and trust me, pretty graphics make me all happy too. Right now, this is one of the games that I'm playing. This game is amazing. It's beautiful. It's a work of art. I love the Kurosawa films. I went to school and I studied both writing and directing, and of course you're going to learn a lot about film history, and this feels like an old samurai movie that I get to play. So this has been one of my big ones that I've been playing now, other than Genshin. I've also been playing, as you can see behind me, Persona 5, which was on my backlog, and I know people are probably like, you haven't beaten that game yet? Yeah, like I said, it's a backlog. Sometimes you get to the games you want to get to right off the bat, and sometimes you have to not. And there was a point in time where I decided to play a lot of shorter games in order to complete more games, so I'd have more experiences. But now I am here playing Persona 5, and I'm pushing myself to do that. And not that I'm forcing myself to play it, because I'm enjoying the game a lot, but I am pushing myself to do it because I want to get to Persona 5 Strikers. So when it comes to my gaming collection, I generally have a decent number of games when it comes to the consoles. My earlier consoles, like the Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, PlayStation 1, the Genesis, stuff like that, I don't have a ton of games for those, because whatever games I got were given to me as gifts. I wasn't old enough to buy my own games all the time. So that's just the reality of it. And now that market has gotten to the point where it's really expensive to get a lot of the games that I'm looking to get. But also, I do have other things, like, of course, I do have the PSP, and I also have, like, the Game Boy Advance, I have the original Game Boy, I have the DS, the 3DS, so there's that into the collection, too. I also collect retro clone consoles. So I have the Retron 3, the Retron 5, the what was it called? The Retrobit Entertainment System from Retrobit. I have the Super Nintendo Classic, the Nintendo Classic, the Genesis Mini, the PlayStation Classic. I have all of those because it's easy to hook those up and to capture footage for video games, especially with the HDMI hookups. I still also own most of my original consoles, which includes the Super NES, the NES, the Nintendo 64, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, the Genesis, all those type of consoles. So when it comes to being able to play these, there's a lot that I can play, and I've also have picked up HDMI cables for a lot of them. That means I can hook them up to my modern TV, play them, and even record footage. But I also have, of course, like the Retron 5, like I had said, and that means I don't have to hook up like the Genesis or the Super Nintendo or the Nintendo or anything like that, because I can play everything off from that. When it comes to being a gamer, I like RPGs. Probably it's my favorite genre, especially JRPGs or Japanese RPGs, for those of you not familiar with what that means. I do like Western RPGs as well, like Skyrim and Dragon Age and stuff like that, but I do prefer a good JRPG over that. And I've been a big fan of the Final Fantasy series since it came out. Chrono Trigger, Secret of Mana, pretty much anything that's modern. The Tales of series, Tales of Symphonia, Tales of Vesperia, the brand, some of the brand new games out there, like Tales of Arise. And there's just so much out there that I like to play. Now, I know I'm kind of rambling on, but this is kind of a video for you to get to know who I am and what my collection is and why I like to play video games. And these videos will be a bit more structured in the future with a little bit more of a direction. When it comes to gaming, like I said, I don't care if it's the Sega Genesis. I don't care if it's the Nintendo 64. I don't care if it's the PlayStation 3. I don't care if it's the Switch. If it's a game and I want to play it, I'm going to play it. I'm not a big fan of the idea of those who push for everything's got to be 4K, 120 FPS. Sure, yeah, graphics are awesome. And frames per second, FPS, can improve gameplay depending on the type of games that you play, especially first-person shooters, which I play first-person shooters, but I'm not a big fan of them, so I tend to go with the more sci-fi first-person shooters like the BioShock series, for example, or Halo. And not everything has to be about reaching those milestones. You hear about that more today than you hear about the actual gameplay, and that is a little bit disheartening because I think that we're kind of missing the point of what games are and what they were. And I kind of feel like the reason why mobile gaming has gotten so popular is because it's kind of embracing what games used to be. Just kind of simple pick up and play and have fun type of games, and not every experience needs to be that way. I don't think it should, but if we get lost in technology too much when it comes to video games, and we start caring more about FPS and 4K and 8K and eventually probably 12K and beyond, we're totally missing the point of what video games were meant to do to begin with, and that is give us some entertainment, some escapism. And for me, we need to have those big AAA experiences, but let's not forget where video games started, and let's not drive that away, because we should be pushing for an inclusive video game type of experience where we can have those AAA games, but we can also have Pac-Man. Why not? Why can't we have those little experiences? I guess we kind of can, because the indie scene is really starting to pick up. And that is something that's very important, because all these smaller games are starting to gain recognition, and they're starting to get people to see that maybe gaming doesn't have to be 4K, 120 FPS all the time, or it means nothing. That was a little bit of a rant, but again, this video is going to be a little bit all over the place. This is kind of an introduction video. I will try to keep these videos a bit more structured in the future. So that's me, as a gamer, the Metal Geek, who likes to play his video games in any way, shape, or form that is available to him. And that's the way I'm going to keep gaming for as long as I can. If you enjoyed this video, guys, please give it a thumbs up. If you disliked it, go ahead and give it a thumbs down. I am not going to take offense to it. If you like, please subscribe. It really does help. Click on the bell icon and turn on notifications. Again, that's really going to help this channel grow. I'm going to try to get myself up to 300 subs, hopefully by the end of the year. We'll see how that goes. I'm going to try to get these videos out a bit more for you guys. They're going to be more structured, edited videos coming your way soon. I'm working on some. They're just taking a bit of time to get through. And I'm also going to probably start doing some videos where I do the ranking system. I know everybody and their relatives do the ranking systems nowadays, but it just seems like a little bit of fun. So until then, guys, until this next video comes out, hopefully soon, this is the Metal Geek saying have a good one, guys.